Hello and welcome everybody to today's video where I will be introducing the steak and butter gal, also known as Bella. We are so excited for this one and you'll all know why in a bit. But first, welcome Bella.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So before we dive in, I think most people know that you are a passionate carnivore diet advocate. But before we dive in, can you give our audience just a little bit of a background about you?
Absolutely. So I grew up on a Chinese/standard American diet. So I'm Chinese, and my mom was a very traditional, Asian parent. She would cook very traditional Chinese meals growing up. For example, white rice with every single meal, lots of meat. We do value our meat dishes, but also lots of vegetables. And on top of that, all of these dishes are cooked in seed oils. So I grew up on a lot of seed oils, lots of white rice, meats, veg, all of it, and also lots of gluten, lots of carbs, noodles, dumplings. So pretty much everything, right? And I became very passionate in music. So I started studying piano and violin at a very young age. My mom was all for it, and she really pushed me to pursue it as a career. And that's what I ended up doing. I went into high school really just being serious about piano and violin. I would compete, perform like every week. And I bring that up because it had a lot to do with why I started obsessing over body image, why I started wanting to stay a certain weight to be able to fit in the dresses that I had to wear every single week. And that started creating a lot of bad habits for me. For example, restricting, for example, being obsessive about portion control, calorie counting, stepping on the scale. Just the numbers were just pretty much ruling my everyday life and everyday mood. It wasn't good. I started to get the freshman 15 when I was in high school, and I started to gain weight and I started to panic. So like any other young girl, I started Googling, YouTubing, how do I lose weight quickly? And the first thing that popped up for me at that time was Freely the Banana Girl. I don't know if you know her.
Yes. Oh my God. Oh God.
Yep, exactly. So a vegan YouTuber guru, if you want to call it. And yeah, and she was advertising, girls, you guys can get a six pack just like me if you eat raw till 4. Raw till 4, as in raw fruits and vegetables only. And then when 4 p.m. hits, you can eat as much cooked starches as you want. So white rice, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, as much as you want. And I believed that. I actually dived right in and tried it. And by the way, I have to note, I have a very committed personality, a very all-in type of personality. So if I'm going to commit to something, I will do it all the way, 1000%. So I did it all the way. And guess what? I saw results. I saw results. But if I reflect today, it's because I cut out all of the junk. Obviously,
Right.
I cut out the seed oils, the processed foods, the fast foods. So of course I will see results. But because I was so naive and committed like that back then, I thought this was the best diet for me. So I committed to 6 years of the vegan diet. And yeah, by the third, fourth, fifth, sixth year, lots of damage was happening. I was still being very brainwashed, blind to all of it, stubborn too. So it wasn't until the 6th year when I woke up to reality. I lost my period. I was like, I'm not seeing results anymore. My skin is in the worst condition ever. So it's time to eat meat. So that's kind of like, long story short, what I went through before I found meat.
And for those 6 years, did you do a raw until 4
Yeah.
for the full 6 years?
I did raw till 4. I did full fruitarian, raw fruit for a bit as well. I literally ate like 30, 40 bananas a day. Crazy. I can't believe I did that. And then I also did like the starch solution. I forgot who advocated that, but it was some vegan doctor. But I did a whole mix of whole foods, plant-based.
Wow. And then you lost your period at the
Yep.
end of the 6 years. What else? What are other things that happened? Or was that like the impetus, just losing your period, realizing that, well, I'm messing up my hormones. This might not be great for me after all.
Yeah, it was definitely the loss of the period. I was definitely brainwashed to believe that not having a cycle is actually healthy. That's actually something vegans were promoting too at that time. I just can't believe it. Just even talking about this with you, Sarah, it makes me in disbelief that I actually allowed myself to be so brainwashed. But I lost it and I didn't get it back for 2 full years. So after that second year, I took a full panel blood test. I would say that was the impetus, the results, and also what my doctor said to me. I think she was the biggest blessing because she told me that you either have to supplement very, very, very drastically if you want to stay vegan, or you just eat some animal foods because I was just that deficient in very important nutrients. Yeah.
Did you ever take any supplements at all during those 6 years, like B12, for example?
Nutritional yeast was the only thing that I thought I needed as a supplement. Everything else I thought I could get from plant foods.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how are your feelings regarding nutritional yeast nowadays?
It is nasty. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically like MSG, really.
Right.
And people think that this is a healthy thing that you want to add to all your foods.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, and also, other than losing your cycle, which is a huge thing because your period, your cycle is regulated by your hormones. And so when you are fertile and you have optimal reproductive health and optimal fertility, that means you are healthy. That means your hormones are being optimized. That's a marker for health, right? And
Absolutely.
so this is important for people to realize, like losing your period or even having irregular periods, those are all indications that something is not going right and you need to pay attention to that. So I'm glad that you did that. And after that happened, how, maybe I guess the first idea was like, okay, I need to start eating meat. Is that how it started?
Yep, it definitely was a wake up call when my doctor said eat some animal foods if you are opposed to supplementing heavily. Obviously, I'm also lazy. I don't want to go buy all these supplements just to be healthy, right? I didn't believe in that ever. So that's when I went back to the internet, went back to YouTube, and I searched vegan eating meat again, like something like that, those types of words. And what popped up to my surprise was vegans going carnivore. So I don't know if you know this YouTuber, Azra Conlu. I have to give her a shout out, but she was on YouTube at that time advocating the carnivore diet. And she openly shared how she was vegan. I think she went from vegan to raw carnivore. So she inspired me. A few other ladies also inspired me. I just can't remember the name. I do want to give them shout outs, but Azra Conlu inspired me big time. And then I saw Joe Rogan's podcast, like Dr. Sean Baker, the Petersons. That really inspired me too, because not only were they talking about eating only meat, but they were talking about optimal performance, optimal mental function, optimal physical performance. Obviously, any human would be interested in that. And as a musician, I'm always chasing the best mental clarity, the highest productivity. So I was definitely interested and I decided to go all in again. So again, my personality is like, if I'm going to try something, I will go 100% in. So I literally went from vegan to carnivore overnight, and that was the start of my carnivore journey.
And what were the first things that, actually, before I ask you this question, the reason why I said I'm so excited for this, because
Yeah.
when I was starting to even entertain the thought of going carnivore, I came across one of your videos where you talked about your vegan to carnivore transformation.
Mm.
And I was like in shock because I mean, not complete shock because I was already doing keto, so I understood that, but the whole carnivore concept was like, oh my God, only meat. And it was so inspiring though. And I remember from that video, I watched a few other of your videos. From there, I started seeing the Petersons, Sean Baker, Saladino, everybody, on Joe Rogan and all that stuff. And that's how I really started transitioning. So it's wild that, you know, here I am now, I'm interviewing you and we're talking. It's crazy.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I'm just super glad that my content helps beautiful ladies like you guys out, because that's at the end of the day, that's my target audience, is young women. Because if you catch it early, you have your whole life ahead of you to thrive, to achieve your dreams, to have healthy kids, right? Super passionate about starting families because I love babies. I have a very young brother and I basically help my mom raise him. So I'm super passionate about raising kids as healthy as possible, actually making the baby from the first day, make them as healthy as possible because the mama is healthy. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, a real inspiration. So my question was how, so you started eating meat, and once you went all in, what were the first reactions or things that kind of made you start to convince yourself that this is like the optimal way to eat?
So first few weeks, it was pretty much a tornado for me because I was not able to tolerate fat. At that point in my life, I went through 6 years of high carb, low fat. I want to stress low fat. Like I actually went out of my way to make sure I don't eat any dietary fat because the vegans at that time were saying like fat is evil. So you want as many carbs as possible for your source of fuel. So when I started eating all that fat, it went right through me. So diarrhea, lots of loose stools. It was very tough because at that time I was studying at Juilliard and I would be in school or practicing or watching performances, lectures all day. And I would have to run out of class because those stools, you never know when it's going to happen. Yeah, definitely got in the way with my studies, but that was the biggest struggle, the stools. But what I felt, even from my first bite of animal foods, my first bite was actually some eggs scrambled in Kerrygold butter. Just eating that bite, I felt alive. I felt, wow, this is exactly what my body needs. You kind of just know, especially when you've been malnourished for so long. So when I ate animal foods, it felt right. I felt energetic. I felt satiated for once. I think that's a big thing with carnivore. You come to this diet and finally you feel like you are satiated, fully satiated, not like carbs. It's empty. You know, you're bloated. There's something there. And just 1 hour later, you're hungry again. Not with carnivore. You can be satiated for long periods of time, have sustainable energy to do things, and then eat again when you're hungry again.
Exactly. Because I remember also I grew up eating a plant-based diet. And I remember throughout my, like growing up and throughout my early 20s, if I got hungry, I needed to eat right then and there. I couldn't just wait an hour or 2 or 3 and I'll eat later if I'm busy. Like, no, I had to eat right now. Otherwise I would feel like my blood pressure would drop or I would get dizzy. It was like a reactive hypoglycemic reaction. So that was also for me the first clue when I removed the carbs, this sustained level of energy and the ability to like not have to eat right then and there. That was huge for me, and that was like, oh my god, this is so amazing. So so you also dropped body fat, correct, on carnivore. So even though the vegan diet, you did it for weight loss initially, that's what was your main motivation, you actually achieved better body composition with a carnivore diet.
Yes. I'm going to just lift this because I'm getting distracted. So with the body composition, this is something that I am still to this day very impressed by, is that when you eat on the vegan diet, you don't get to just eat as much as you want. You still have to portion control, restrict if you want to look a certain way. I'm just speaking from my personal experience. When I was vegan, I tried to stay a certain size to fit in my dresses, right? And I noticed extreme bloat, extreme water retention in all of the wrong places. And in order to control just those two things, I had to make sure that I didn't eat past these calories. It was a headache. It just was not sustainable. But then when I am carnivore now, if you just compare these two very polar opposite diets, on carnivore, I don't like restrict. I don't count calories. I don't even measure macros. I don't obsess over numbers. And I'm able to eat as much as I want whenever I'm hungry. When I first started off, the first 6 months, obviously I started gaining weight because I was eating up to 5 meals a day. I was eating up to 5 pounds of meat per day. Okay, so that is obviously a lot of food. So the weight gain is perfectly normal and expected. I also was inspired by Kelly Hogan because she openly shared her initial weight gain. So that really got me, through that initial phase of weight gain. But I can tell you that weight gain goes away. After you are healed, nourished, your body's like, yes, I'm no longer ravenous and hungry for nutrients. The appetite calms down. When the appetite calms down, you're able to start incorporating like natural intermittent fasting. So the fasting for me was kind of like the catalyst for all that extra weight dropping off. But if you like fast forward 3 years to today, right? I'm 3 years in. I don't really obsess over like, oh, I have to do OMADs every single day because that's the way to maintain a certain weight. Some days I'll do 2 MADs. Some days I'll do OMADs. Some days I'll do 2 MADs with a snack. I kind of am at a place where I trust my body 100% into with my cravings, appetite, and it kind of shows through body composition.
And do you exercise along with that?
I don't exercise. I personally don't go to the gym. I know that, the eating meat and lifting weights, I think you're a part of that, right?
Right.
The passion of like lifting weights, like I am super, I just admire that a lot. But for me, it's like not my thing. Every time I lift weights, I feel like I get super hungry and I don't like feeling ravenous. Maybe I just need to ease my way into it. But I'm a tall gal, I'm 5'10". So something about like movement, I have to be very selective with it. And I am usually like sitting in front of the piano. So I do have to make sure that everything that I'm doing supports my piano making, right? So the movement that I like to do is quite gentle, walking, hiking every single day, things that I know that I love that I will want to keep doing every day.
Interesting. So how like right now the vast majority of your time you're competing with with your musical career?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So ever since COVID hit, my life changed, turned upside down. I was just about to graduate from Juilliard. It was 2020, and I didn't even get a real graduation ceremony or a real graduation concert because everything just became online. So ever since then, I've started like coming up with ways on how I can perform, share my music with people. It's not going to be live because, the live stadiums, concert halls, they were shut down during that time. So I had to get creative, which is kind of why I started exploring YouTube and Instagram. It just kind of took a turn because now I'm promoting not music, but more meat and carnivore. So that's kind of how everything happened.
That's so interesting. So you started your social media to share your music, and
Yes.
then maybe I guess you saw that people were very interested in this carnivore diet, and so is that how it happened?
Yeah, so I started with just sharing lots of music, but because I like to share what I eat, my lifestyle, what I do every day, I also shared that I eat steaks every day, right? And then I started realizing that, wow, there's this actual carnivore community on Instagram. And I kind of just, immersed myself in that carnivore community. So what I ended up doing was doing a lot of carnivore content plus music because that's just something that I'm super passionate about. But the more immersed into that carnivore community I was, the more I felt like, okay, this is my duty too, to spread the word of the carnivore diet. And I also have to make note, like everyone in that community was so welcoming, like especially Kelly Hogan, she reached out to me, she even interviewed me, Dr. Baker interviewed me. So I was like, wow, this is a great family. So I kind of just loved being there.
Right. There's a lot of enthusiasm amongst the carnivore advocates,
Yes.
because it gives you a sense of belonging because very few people do this. Very few people are only eating meat and are not touching the vegetables. And so it makes you feel, I don't know, like you're not the only person.
It's like this
I
automatic sense, like you are my people, right? This is my people, my tribe, because you're right. There's so few of us. So when you find a new one, it's like, yay, another one.
exactly. That's exactly how I feel. So before, I want to ask you specifically what you eat right now. But before that, I don't want to forget. I want to ask you about your skin because you have the most amazing skin, and I know that it wasn't always like that. So can you share that specific aspect?
Sure. Thank you. Firstly, so my skin was, like you said, not always good, decent, healthy, because I had lots of acne, lots of cystic acne. I do believe the horrible plant-based diet with all those seed oils before I went vegan as well contributed to the cystic acne, to the rosacea, to my eczema, to my psoriasis. I had a lot of skin conditions. Yep. I had
Really?
some
Wow.
autoimmune as well. Yep.
Okay.
So with the eczema, I had that actually since I was a child. And I just remember going to my doctor, my mom taking me to the doctor, and the doctor always prescribing a new ointment. And I would be just slathering that ointment all over my body. It was painful because some of that ointment would sting my skin, because a lot of the times I would go to sleep, itch my skin, wake up with blood, and it would just scab. So it was really painful.
Yeah.
And little did I know that all of these skin issues root from nutrition. It roots from what we are feeding ourselves. So when I went vegan, the first dramatic improvement I saw was in my skin. Now, I do have to note, before I went vegan, I started using tretinoin. I actually pronounced it tretinoin for the longest time, and then I realized it's tretinoin. So that prescription medication, it's a topical cream for your skin. That was literally the only thing that would make my skin okay. Okay, so it did make a big difference to my skin, and I kind of used it into my carnivore journey, but then I stopped, and I don't use it to this day. But the biggest thing that changed my skin, of course, was eating meat, cutting out all the plants, all of the oxalates, all of the carbs, and just focusing on nutrient-dense, skin-loving foods.
Wow. And how long would you say it took for the full skin transformation to happen?
That's a good question. 6 months, I would say, is when I started no longer seeing new breakouts. It's all like a blur because I was just seeing so many benefits. The skin, though, even to this day, I still feel like my skin is improving. I still have, what do you call it? Like pigmentation, scarring, scabs, dips in the skin from when I used to have those pimples. Sometimes I would like pop those pimples, which is the worst thing you can do. And I still have the dents. So I'm perfectly fine with accepting that my skin will never be back to when like how it was before I started breaking out. But to just see my skin in front of the mirror without bumps, without that bright red rosacea, it's enough to show myself like this is the diet for me.
Yeah. So many people have no clue that their psoriasis, their eczema, all of those skin conditions that are autoimmune in nature, they have no clue that diet can have any benefit. And if they do try to fix it naturally with diet, then the first thing they go with is a plant-based diet. You know, it's like more of what probably contributed in the first place, all of those anti-nutrients, you know, inflammatory veggies. So it's good to see more transformation stories, more success stories like yours. I think also Dr. Paul Saladino had eczema that he was able to completely reverse. Actually, that's probably why he became a carnivore diet, if I remember correctly. So there are a lot of these success stories. So thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
So how is your diet right now? Okay. And also, because I remember watching a video, sorry, like a month ago where you said you can't eat beef anymore. I was like, wait, what? So can you talk also about that?
Yes. So let's go backwards a little bit. So last year I did a beef only challenge. I was inspired by my coach at the time, Coach Raymond, because he's super passionate about like eliminating to the max. Carnivore is an elimination diet, yes, but he was super passionate about like how bare minimum can you get, and does that affect how you feel? I love that about him. So it inspired me to do beef only for 30 days. After those 30 days, I felt so phenomenal, so on top of my game that I was like, no way am I ending this beef only. I'm going to continue it. I continue it for 8 months total. And after those 8 months, it was really difficult to like stop the beef only because my body was so used to just eating beef. And I felt so good. And I also did some fasting. So I was like super in the groove. But then I was like, it's time to do something new, switch it up. I want a new challenge. So I started introducing new foods. I introduced chicken, turkey, lamb also. And then one day I had lots of fatty beef. I don't know if it was like the combination of all that variety, all that new variety with a new type of beef, but I introduced short ribs, American cut style. I'm not sure if you know what that looks like. It's like a thick bone short ribs, just a standard short ribs. And it's like super fatty because the way they cut it, there's like a thick layer of fat with meat blended in. And I didn't know that it was that much fat. And I knew myself, like I thrive off of extremely high fat carnivore anyways. So I definitely made the mistake of cooking those short ribs, rendering all that fat, eating a bunch of it for the first time, and ending up getting nausea. So I got beef aversion during that night. And it was so bad that I felt sick all of that night. And I felt like any thought of beef for like a few weeks after was just off-putting to me. So I try to shed light on this as much as possible, like beef aversion, meat aversion, palate fatigue. It's possible for any carnivore, not just for new carnivores. You just got to be careful with the rendered fat. Rendered fat is basically the cooked, hot, melted fats. Something about rendered fats just does something to trigger nausea and aversion. For me, it was like just suddenly very extreme. But then I recovered, obviously, after a few weeks, and then I went back on beef. So I am currently eating beef, by the way, lots of it.
Awesome. And just beef right now?
No, not just beef only. I'm now back to beef and variety. So typical day for me, beef, seafood, chicken, some eggs, lots of eggs, and that's about it. I have not brought back the butter yet. I like raw cheese too, but the butter, I really want to play around with raw and pasteurized butter. I'm just currently in the process of sourcing it here in Washington.
I see. Okay. And so dairy is not a complete no-no on your diet. Yeah, me too. I think it gives us a lot of extra, kick. And that's interesting that your skin is still doing well, even if you go back and you add some dairy. Because I've struggled with acne as well. And I'm always a little bit, when I look at dairy, like, should I or should I not? Because I'm always scared that it's going to give me breakouts, but I don't think it does. I don't know. I don't like, I'm having it and it's not really, I'm not breaking out.
That's great. That's great. I do want to let you know that there's a difference between raw and pasteurized dairy. So if you want to maybe play around with raw dairy, I don't know if you're already eating raw dairy, but for me, I notice, no? Okay. Then that would be something worth experimenting with. Because for me, if I have pasteurized dairy, cheese, yogurt, kefir included, I will notice more negative effects because it's pasteurized. But like with unpasteurized raw cheese, for example, I have no issues. So it's definitely a nice treat, adds a kick to the diet. It's really nice to have it.
Exactly. Yeah. It really does spice things up a little bit. Do you do seasonings, herbs, anything like that?
Yeah, I personally don't. I actually don't salt at all. I just like to eat my carnivore meals, meats as is, because I really like the flavor of it alone.
Without any salt?
That's right. I don't eat salt.
That is so interesting. Okay. What about organs?
Yeah, organs I have quite a relationship with. When I first started carnivore, I was following, what's his name? Frank Tufano.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was a huge advocate of organs. So I was like, ooh, okay, so now I can play around with a new ingredient. I really like to experiment. So I brought in some liver and I did it like him. I did raw liver. And I definitely noticed improvements in my energy, in my skin, which was a huge priority. I noticed big differences in my skin, like the way it glowed. The next morning, I would feel like it had an extra oomph to it, like a glow and sheen. So I was like, okay, organs are definitely good for me. So I had organs for a good few months, actually. My first year of carnivore, I have videos documenting it. I did videos on like trying every organ I can get my hands on. So yes, I definitely experimented with organs, enjoyed it fully, but today I don't eat organs. Possibly because I'm lazy to source it, but also because I'm like, but I feel so good without it. So I'm kind of just not, like
Yeah.
motivated to bring it back in.
Yeah, it's not like if it's not there, there's some huge deficit that's happening in your health or anything like that. And so you used to eat it full, like actual food, not as supplements when you did do the organs.
Yeah, I never really took supplements ever on carnivore and even on vegan. So I don't rely on supplements to get me any nutrients. I try my best to source it from the actual food. So yes, it would be whole foods.
Okay, so that means right now you're not doing any supplements, I'm assuming that, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about fruits and honey?
No. I personally don't want to bring that in only because of this. I know myself. I know that I am not a moderator. I know that I have to abstain. And I know my tendencies. Like if I were to just have any slight taste of sweetness on my tongue, my brain and my body would be like more now and a lot of it. So it could possibly lead to binging for me. And I don't really want that. I'm in such a good place. I'm having such a healthy relationship with food and just the idea of eating that I currently don't want to play around with those ingredients.
Yeah, they can definitely be addictive, especially honey. There was a time when Dr. Paul Saladino was touting the benefits, and I got excited. I was like, okay, maybe there's something to that. Looking at all the studies that he would pull up, and it would show like there's no real negative benefit. But I've struggled with sugar addiction in the past. And so for me, it wasn't like 1 or 2 tablespoons. Like on some days, yeah, I could do it, but then on other days it would be a lot more. I would microwave a sweet potato, put cinnamon on it, and then put a lot of honey. And even if it's raw, even if it's like unpasteurized, all that kind of stuff, it's something that for me personally, I don't think was helping me in body composition or just it just created, like you said, more. I wanted more of it. Like if I had it, then I felt like I needed more of it. When I finished that meal, it wasn't like, oh, I'm satiated. It was like, no, I wonder if I can add in an extra serving. That was the first thought that would come to my mind. So yeah, that. And another thing, I actually just published a YouTube video with regards to honey. It has methyl glyoxal, which ironically, methyl glyoxal is the component in honey, especially Manuka honey, that's supposed to give you all the benefits. It has powerful antibacterial effects, but then again, it's also a powerful advanced glycation and products producer or ages. So advanced glycation and products, they speed up the aging process. They increase oxidation in the body. So if your goal is not only to feel great right now, but also maximize your anti-aging potential and slow down the rate of aging, then maybe honey is not this great thing that you want to be having a lot of.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just when you said it speeds up aging, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not gonna have honey anymore.
Not touching it anymore. Exactly. Because I reversed my stance officially, because I had a video on Manuka honey like maybe a year ago where I was like, yeah, it's great and all the benefits. And then the more I did research on that, it just kept coming up, MGOs or methyl glyoxal. I'm like, wait a second, isn't that related to the aging process? So I did more research, and that's when I was like, okay, that's it. That's my new position on this matter. It's not a great thing. And also fructose in fruits, actually, same thing.
Good for you for doing the research. Yeah. So can I ask you, so are you strict full carnivore now?
Not strict like you, not 100%. Well, I'll have a Quest bar like every once in a while.
Okay.
But I would say 90% or 95% strict carnivore. Yeah. But I'll have salt and things like that. But I'll have cheese. Those are things that maybe if you're like on the lion diet, you wouldn't have cheese,
Right.
But I'll have some cheese, eggs, bacon, chicken, beef, all that kind of stuff, seafood. But I'll have the occasional like keto friendly food, and like just fit it in, but eventually, I obviously anything that comes out of a package, even if it's keto, is not something that is great to keep in your diet. And so eventually the goal is always to do like a super strict carnivore diet. I think I really feel a lot of benefits.
Right. I would love to challenge you to maybe do strict carnivore for a month, and I would
Yeah,
totally cheer you on, follow along your journey.
I think that's great. I'll think about it though.
Okay.
You'll put me on the spot. But yeah, I think maybe a challenge would be helpful too, though, and then we can like vlog it or track it and see how I feel. It's just I hate to commit to something and feel like, because I have these habits, I would hate to say, okay, I'm gonna do this and then feel so bad on some day, like I absolutely need to have something, and then I need to feel like really ready. It's like, okay, I really want to do this now, and I know for a fact, like once I say I'm going to do something, then there's no other way, like it has to be done,
Good.
So yeah,
Well, do it when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what advice, I'm wondering, you could have for current vegans who are currently realizing that maybe this diet might not be as optimal as all of these experts are telling me they are?
Yeah,
Because
that's a
you've
great
been
question.
there.
Definitely. I've been there. I've also helped a ton of vegans in the DM box who are super secretive and scared to even come out saying that I no longer want to be vegan. I've definitely helped a lot of those people out. And the first question that they ask is like, what made you like bite the bullet and eat the meat? And I would always speak from my experience. I was feeling horrible. Are you feeling horrible? Right? If so, then it's time to change something. Because if you don't change what you're eating, you will continue to feel X, Y, and Z horrible things. And they're like, yeah, I'm definitely feeling those. And they see like my progress photos as well. They're currently also going through acne. It's just funny how all of these issues that pop up, it's so similar for all the vegans, especially long-term vegans. Skin issues, hair loss, the weight is fluctuating again. All of these things, brain fog, bloat, it's so just across the board common for everyone who is on this diet. So I tell them, yeah, I was able to heal all of these things that you're going through right now just by eating meat. And then I encourage them gently and friendly to just slowly ease into more animal foods. Of course, my personality is not like that, but I would never push on anyone, like just go strict carnivore now. It's the only way to do it. I would never do that. But what I will do is I felt so good just eating beef, more animal fats, that saturated fat, right? And I would encourage them to just add more of it. If you can do that, I trust that the body will show this person how good it feels, and then they're going to be organically led down the path of carnivore anyways.
Exactly. It's funny you said the hair loss. This morning when I was teaching my class, one of my students was telling me how funny it was that a lot of her close friends are vegans on a gazillion supplements and they're still losing their hair, thinning hair. And she's maybe 18, 19, like first year of college. And so I'm assuming her friends are also of that age, which is crazy, how quickly the deterioration starts to happen.
Yep.
And this is another thing that we find, that you are generally either plant-based or vegan or vegetarian, and then you decide to go carnivore. But I don't think I've ever heard of any carnivore going back to a plant-based diet or a vegan diet. Have you?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. That's interesting. I thought you were going to ask. I've never heard of a vegan plant-based person going in the middle. And I was going to say to that, like, oh, it's because they're just not on Instagram. They're just living their lives. They're not sharing.
What do you mean going in the middle?
Like ketovore, still with some plants, but some meat. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think the usual transition, maybe I don't know, maybe you have more experience with that because you were part of that community. So maybe you know more of what normally happens.
Right. Definitely for the vegans who leave that movement, they just start, secretly adding in animal foods. And I would say like the bigger vegan gurus, they'll just come out with it and just say like, yeah, I'm eating animal foods now. But I don't see too many going from vegan to carnivore. That obviously is going to be just quite a few because it is quite extreme. But I definitely have seen 0 cases of vegan going carnivore and then going back to vegan. I mean, how is that
Yeah.
even possible? You are definitely going to feel better on carnivore. Why would you go back to the diet that started all the issues?
Exactly. And even if you're not vegan, a lot of people grow up on a plant-based diet, rice and beans, it's such a
Yeah.
staple,
Yeah.
salads and fruits and all kinds of, that's a plant-heavy diet. So almost everybody really who goes on a carnivore diet has had a plant-heavy, whether that's grains or legumes or beans or things like that, has had a plant-heavy diet in the past. So
Yep.
it's an interesting observation. So what advice would you have for, I guess you kind of answered that a little bit earlier, when vegans do reach out to you in DM and what you tell them. What advice would you have though for them, additional advice? And also, why do you think that there is so much secrecy around that? Why do they feel like they have to do it without telling anybody?
Yeah, I think it's the shame that revolves around eating animals again, because one of the biggest messages among that community is, oh, we're saving the planet. We are super humane and we care about animals. They don't deserve to be da 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 da, da, right? So of course, when you go back to eating the exact food that everybody shames you for eating, obviously you want to keep it under the table because you will get negative and lots of hate for it. So that's why I think that's why they want to keep it secret. It's this shaming. And I've definitely gotten questions around that exact topic. Like, how did you get over the fact that you have to eat animals again? And I basically say, I feel like my life is priority. So if it takes eating meat to feel at the top of my game, I will do that sacrifice. Hands down. I only live one life. We only live one life. And we have all of these things that we want to achieve. We have all of these brilliant brains that can help make our next generations even better through technology, through just whatever, right? We have the ability to do that. So if we want to do that, we got to be on the best diet possible to make sure we are at our sharpest, brightest, most innovative. So that's how I think of it.
I wonder also, you started on a vegan diet because you wanted to drop body fat and your health, first of all. At any point during those 6 years, did you ever get sucked into the animal cruelty movement? Yeah. Or and the environmental cause as well?
1000%. Yes. Yes. I even went as far as to zero leather. I went as far as to just beyond food. So lifestyle, clothes, even soaps and stuff like that. It was ridiculous, but yes, it did affect me.
Yeah, and I noticed that happening also with a lot. I think a lot of people, their first instinct to go vegan is because they feel like that's going to improve their health. Because the vast majority of blogs, if you go online and you search for, how to get healthy or how to become healthier, the vast majority of the entries that are going to show up in the beginning is going to be very heavy plant-based. And so people start off there and they start, if they're starting from a standard American diet and then they transition to more whole foods, even though it's plant, but it's more whole foods, real foods.
Yep.
They'll probably feel a bit better in the beginning, and then that kind of convinces them. And from there, as they get involved in this community, then they start being targeted or exposed to those arguments with regards to the environment, with regards to animal cruelty, and then it becomes this all of these different arguments, and you become kind of brainwashed, and it becomes very difficult to exit that, as even if your health starts to go down.
Yep, absolutely. That was my case for sure. And that's why I'm so grateful for all of the brave people who, went out of their way to share it with the world, put themselves out there to share their journeys. So I think it's because of people like that, will in the end inspire these sick people to just make that change just bite the bullet and exit that community and at least just eat some animal foods. So I do feel that duty to be that person now because I am so grateful for the people before me who inspired me.
That's amazing. So what is it that, or where do you see yourself in the next few years, maybe like in the next 5 years, and then beyond that? Like what drives you, and what direction do you want to take?
5 years from now, I definitely want to have a kid. I feel like I was born to be a mother for some reason. I just have this infinite love for kids and babies, and I have this bond with my little brother. So I'm always preparing myself to be the best mom for some reason. And I'm not even married yet, but I just want to have kids. I want to start a family. So I do envision myself as a badass working mom, not just like a house mom, right? Housewife. So I do hope 5 years from now, yes, I have a family, it's all settled down, but I can continue to spread the message of carnivore diet. I can continue to spread my love for music. Somehow I hope I can marry all of those things together. I mean, the internet is endless opportunity, so I'm sure I'll find a way to do all of that.
Yeah, that's something also that I think about all the time with the, you get known for something, because we both started doing YouTube. It wasn't like we wanted to be carnivores, we started sharing about the carnivore diet and it just picked up. So that's the thing, like you could do anything you want with YouTube. It doesn't just only have to be carnivore, and do you post musical performances at any point in time? You do?
Yes, I do. So I used to have just a dedicated channel, but I got so sidetracked by all the work that, YouTubing and editing is a lot of work. So I hope, by the way, Sarah's viewers right now realize how much work it takes to make these videos, to edit these videos, to post these videos. So feel free to support her by always liking her videos, subscribing, turn on that bell and notification. Yes, I am so promoting Sarah right now for you. But I'm telling you, it matters. When you want to say thank you to your favorite creators, you can do those little actions to say thank you. It makes a big difference. But yeah, I got sidetracked with the carnivore channel. So now what I'm doing is I try to incorporate music at the end of my carnivore videos. I always try to post some music, sprinkle it in on my Instagram. I'm currently just trying to sprinkle it in and kind of mesh the two in one place. Yeah.
Do you notice that sometimes though you lose a little bit of subscribers in the short term once you do that? Because I've noticed that, like, because I'm always trying to do other things as well. But I've noticed when I post a video that's completely like maybe completely 100% mindset or lifestyle, 100% lifestyle, nothing to do with nutrition, I do in the short term see a drop in subscribers, but then but you still gain subscribers, and those subscribers for me make me so happy because they know what my channel is about and they know I also do this. So those are my people, that they're okay with everything that I'm putting out.
Exactly. I think the best advice for that issue is you have to do what you're passionate about, because that's what pays off in the long run. You don't want to be doing something just for the numbers, just for the subscribers or the views. You got to love what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not going to do it for life or forever or for how many years you want to do it. So the niche will find you, the people will find you, and just keep spreading the amazing content that you are doing, and it will work out long term.
I agree 100%, because that's the only way you can stay motivated, because like you said, it takes so much work. And so that's the only way. I know. Tell me about it.
Love that we can connect on this.
Oh yes. I feel all YouTubers can. It's like, oh my gosh.
I know. True.
Alrighty. So any last message you would like to leave our audience with?
Sure. Okay. So, well, I'm currently in the works of getting ready for my next 30-day challenge. I definitely love promoting about that during this time of the month. So I host 30-day challenges every month. It's kind of like a super passionate live community you all can be a part of if you want some extra help, support, connection with other carnivores. So I'll definitely give Sarah the link for that. But for April, I'm actually going to feature a few guest speakers, Dr. Barry, Dr. Chafee, and Rebecca Farmer. So every month I feature awesome guest speakers. Sarah, you will be my next month, by the way. I'll invite you on for May. So that's what I wanted to share. Yay! Good.
That's awesome. Wonderful. I will post the links that you're going to send me. I will post all of your social media where people can find you, your YouTube and Instagram. Are there other social media platforms that you are actively engaged in right now?
Just Instagram, YouTube, and the community, which is on Mighty Networks. It's off social media. So I would say those 3 places are where I'm usually at.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure to link everything down below so you can find Bella, the Steak and Butter Gal, as easily as possible. And thank you so much, Bella. This has been so awesome. I'm so happy that we got to connect and talk about this. And thank you for inviting me for, when is it, in April?
In May. We'll keep in touch. Yeah.
It's my birthday month. Awesome.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you, everybody. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.